Hi, this is Paul from Puerh, UK. So, what is Puerh? Puerh is the original tea. So, it comes from the area called Yunnan. That's the southernmost part of China. And some of it goes beyond the borders of it as well. It's where tea originally comes from. It's where Camellia sinensis originally comes from. And why is that important? Well, two reasons. One is because it comes from there. There's an abundance of very, very old trees. And why is that important? Because these old trees do something really, really special to tea. In terms of taste, they make it very, very complex in a way that rivals and surpasses aged wine and whiskey, for example. And in terms of energy, they influence you in a way that we do not understand scientifically what's going on. We do not understand what ChaQi is about. But everybody will tell you, everybody that's been drinking Puerh for a long while, will tell you that there is something quite special that we can't quite explain and think about. The other thing that's special about Puerh is the fact that with age, with the more time it passes, the more it ferments and transforms. So it starts being something that's sort of similar to a green tea, and then it ages, and the full aging time, depending on how much humidity and heat there is, can take 50 years, 70 years or more. And the profile changes completely, becoming darker and darker, and the energy to be more calm. Now, Puerh is Sheng, or raw, or shou, or cooked. Shou Puerh is a process that started around the 70s, and the idea is to copy the natural aging process that would normally happen with time, do this in 30 to 60 days instead, by having a lot of humidity and heat applied to the tea. Most shou Puerh is okay, a lot of it is pretty palatable, but it cannot rival the purity and complexity and strength of Sheng Puerh. Now, the thing with Sheng Puerh, though, is that actually most of it, particularly when it's young, is thoroughly undrinkable. Well, to a different extent, but it can have a lot of flows. I think really we look for tea that's flowless and very smooth, not just strong, but also smooth and elegant. And most young Puerh simply is not that. The more it ages, the better it gets. But for the younger the tea is, the harder it is to find really good tea. In fact, I would even go as far as to say that 99% of Sheng Puerh I will not touch. I will touch the 1%, and particularly with Puerh UK, we also focus on the 0.1%, that's to say tier 4, and the very few 0.001%, that's tier 5. So I was saying before that Puerh brings you some kind of mind state. We usually call this something between, both calm and aware. If you think about it, all different plants and stimulants do one of the two. If they make you calm, often they make you quite stupid. And if they make you quite aware or energized, often they also make you quite anxious. Now, Puerh, proper, really high quality Puerh, doesn't do that. A lot of people think about that she is similar to caffeine, but it's really not quite that. Like, it's obviously different because the effect between drinking a lot of caffeine, for example, as coffee or as a Red Bull or pills, the caffeine curve is very much like this, very sharp, high energy, and then can let you feel really, really quite anxious. Now, Puerh really doesn't do that. Particularly, the more effort and time you put into it, the more the energy is steady. But in general, the higher quality the tea is, the more people find that the energy curve is much more like this, a much smoother thing. I am one of the most sensitive to caffeine people that I know. And while Puerh will still keep me up if I drink at night, it will not give me any of the anxiety and jitteriness. It will also not give me any tolerance, like needing more and more caffeine. Even for people that do not feel ChaQi, that's to say the energy of the tea very consciously, still there is something very, very interesting about Puerh. You can talk about it in the terms of taste. It doesn't really matter what you talk about it, but how you talk about it. But all the time I talk to entrepreneurs or scientists, and they love Puerh. I know, because of how much of their tea, how much tea they buy, how much they love it, how much they discuss, how much effort they put into it. And obviously they don't talk, well, obviously, most don't talk about it in terms of ChaQi, but still they would talk about it as having a moment of peace, having something that one can learn, a little bit like a martial art, but for the mind, well, maybe a little bit for your hands as well, because very small difference in preparation will have very quite big impacts on the final liquid that comes out of the teapot, the gaiwan, whatever that is. Anyway, they talk about it as, at the very least, as finding a moment of peace in the day where you can gather your thoughts, be still, and not usually be thinking about a lot of other stuff as we usually do. So yeah, some people feel ChaQi very strongly, some like fall into a meditation state. For some it's a bit more like emptying their mind in a more subtle way. Still, I suspect the very same thing is going on. And this, together with the extremely complex taste, and as I was saying before, tea is one of the plants we have that probably the one that the most is sensitive to how you prepare it. So we have all sorts of different material like yixing clay, gaiwans, and like a difference of a few degrees of heat in the water, or a few seconds of how long you make an infusion will make a significant difference on how the liquid comes out and how your experience of drinking it is. So you could either have a very ritual tea ceremony, completely in silence, that kind of flows into meditation, or you could focus much more on the gong fu, that's to say high skill appreciation and brewing of the tea. Yeah, so you think about it as from as simple as a hobby that you use to clear your mind, some moments that you can share with your friends, family, particularly as replacing something like alcohol, for example. A lot of people do that. Makes you feel in a way that's quite convivial and still and interesting, but without having any negative effects. Or yeah, all the way up until this is a powerful meditation thing. It's the first thing I do in the morning, and I sit still for a couple of hours. I see people doing both of this with our tea. So starting is super easy. For example, we sell a very affordable gaiwan kit, and then we have two sample sets. One is called the Unbearable Lightness of Modern Puerh. So this is proper heavy puerh with a good character and soul. This is a slightly younger tea, say something about between 5 to 20 years of age. Then we have another sample set called Heavy Chi Eaters. This is generally older puerh, makes you feel much more calm, much more still. So starting, it would be as simple as getting one of those kits and a couple of the sample kits, and that's it. I will put the link in the videos and in the page. And actually it is a great moment to start. In the last 10 years, we have teas of a purity and quality that was never made before. It's only, and by this I mean particularly, very, very little. They're rare, but they exist in a way that they didn't exist before. Like 100% pure ancient trees from very specific single estate areas. These are really, really elusive, and there's not many. We have some. But yeah, it's so exciting because if relatively, average to good quality tea after it's been aged for such a long time becomes so amazing, I cannot imagine how great these leaves of such higher quality that we have today will be in 10, 20, 30 years. I'm actually really, really excited about this. This is something I'm only starting to realize in the last maybe 2 years. I think often people think, the price of puerh have gone up a lot, it's too late to get into it, but actually really, really not. This is one of the big reasons. New tea that was never made before to this quality. The second big reason is that I suspect this is true for most things in life, but I know it's true for puerh. It's really not about what you learn, but it's about the learning process. Because the idea is that as you focus on it and you learn something, you at the very least clear your mind, or you learn something, you're not thinking about your usual repetitive thoughts, you're thinking about yourself, you're really into it. And I can tell you, after many, many years of drinking puerh, actually there's no advantage to knowing so much about it. It's the very same thing as if it was the first day. My very first day, I had been to this tea ceremony in silence, and it was so deep And I just got a little bit of pu'er from the guy that was doing the ceremony. I went to a charity shop and I got some rice balls and I put some hot water in the bowl. And I was so enchanted by it, both by how I felt and by how different the results were. And this is the same thing today. In fact, after being for such a long time, finding slightly new things to learn and learning deeper and deeper is a little bit more tricky. But still, even after almost 10 years, there are still things to learn. So in a sense, I'm really, really excited for people that are starting right now, because I remember so fondly how my life just felt so much better. Instead of spending a lot of time thinking about random stuff, I had something that was very healthy to put my energy into. I told you why I love pu'er. I told you why I think you will love it too. So what to do now? Get yourself some really good quality tea, and after this there is a how to brew pu'er guide. So in there I explain to you from the basics what you need to do. The links for both this and some sample sets are in the video below and the page. And then you just try this even for 1 week only. You get 30, maybe ideally 45 minutes or an hour if you can, to just be undisturbed and just brew tea. And then you will rapidly see how you feel. For most people, this period of a week will be enough to spark an interest in a wonderful thing that could really significantly enrich your life. I think pu'er, and particularly our pu'er, can be something that can be really, really good. And well, a lot of people have told me, hundreds of people told me. Some go as far as to say as it's been life-changing, and some are more like it's been a great hobby to have. So the last thing that's done is for you to try whether this is true for yourself or not. Well, if it does turn out to be true, I look forward to share tea with you.